Hey, today I'm going to share three resources with you, three books about storytelling that you've probably heard of at least one of them. The first one I'm going to introduce you to is Robert McKee's Story. It's quite a brick of a book. It's very heavy. What I mainly got out of this was a big lesson for me. I never understood the idea of turning points. I always understood turning points as, you know, part of the storytelling curve. A turning point would be somewhere where everything that you think you know about the story is turned upside down. So this big event, and what McKee basically says in Story is that every scene should have a turning point. So I had to read that over a couple of times until I finally understood what he's talking about. And what he does talk about is value change. That's actually a turning point. A value. Let's say your main character enters the scene with a value of optimism. He's feeling very optimistic about where things are going. Or we, as the reader of the story, we're feeling optimistic about where this is going. So if the scene ends on the same value, that if we still by the end of the scene think, oh, this is great, everything's going great, then nothing has really transpired. So what McKee is talking about is that you have to have go from a minus to a plus, and from a plus to a minus. You sort of have to make the story interesting that way. So if you have a character who enters the scene with the value of optimism, then it should end on a different note. The value should change, or nothing has really transpired. Then you could just get a flat line, and that's what film editors will usually cut out, a scene like that. Obviously, if you're making comics, it's a different thing, but storytelling is the same whether it's movies or whatever. So I would recommend Story if nothing else, than just because you do get some insight in how turning points work. At least that's the lesson I took away from this pretty heavy thing. Then I have another book called Cinematic Storytelling. This is much more of a picture book. It's full of examples of movie, not cliches, that's not the word I'm looking for, but all sorts of ways to tell a story in picture form. It could be panning, zoom, use of symbols within the frame, character lying upside down, and it's full of examples from famous movies that you can understand how this particular image conveys a certain theme or feeling. Or let me just grab an example so you can understand what I'm talking about. Let me find something here. Oh, Citizen Kane, for example. They have the wide angle shot here, and there's a script excerpt, so you know what's going on in the story, and then it tells about the three planes of the image and the dramatic value. By exploiting the depth of field of the lens, each character can inhabit their own horizontal plane. In this way, characters can be staged in depth. This allows the audience to see each character reacting to one event simultaneously and in real time. So that's one example, but it's full of really great movie examples. The use of the fisheye lens. What does that have a dramatic value? Visual match cuts, expressive sound. Obviously, you don't have sound in comics, but it's just full of really great images that you can sort of steal from and learn from. Flashback. How does that work? I mean, all these great cinematic ways to tell a story. And it's called the 100 Most Powerful Film Conventions Every Filmmaker Must Know. And I would just cross that out and say film conventions every comics creator must know. And The author is Jennifer Van Sill, Sijll. I don't know how you pronounce that, but it's a really, really great book. I would recommend that. Then I have one more book that I always recommend people who want to know about storytelling. And I must have recommended it so badly, I must have given it to someone or lent it out to somebody to read it. I can't find it on my shelf anyway. So, but it's called Plot and Structure by James Scott Bell. It's a really, really great package where you just, he uses all sorts of different examples from novels and short stories or movies. So it's really just about tightening your story, and it's very, very comprehensible. It's like the opposite side of the spectrum from McKee. One lesson I always pull out of a hat when I have to talk about James Scott Bell's book is the 3 O's of a scene. He just breaks it down to makes it really, really simple, really easy. Every scene should have 3 O's. There's an objective. What does the character want in the scene? There's an obstacle. What's getting in the way? And then there's an outcome. If you can decide on just these 3 O's, objective, obstacle, and outcome, for every scene, then it's really, really easy to build your synopsis from there, because you know what happens in every scene. So that would be a good sort of checklist to go through for every scene. And he also talks about how the objective and the outcome should be as far away from each other as possible. So if the it's sort of like the turning points of McKee, but it's just a lot easier to understand if you can just put it down in 3 lines: objective, obstacle, and outcome for every scene. And I've even gone and edited a story, a novel that I wrote, where I for every chapter I just noted down what was the outcome, and then I went in and kind of changed the objective of the scene so that it got further away from the outcome. Let me give you an example. One scene ended with there's this married couple, and by the end of the scene they're very far apart. So, and it's seen from the wife's perspective. It's her voice, it's her inner voice we hear. So it was really easy to go in and rewrite the scene and just kind of put that value, that objective in her, that she wanted for this particular scene. She wanted them to become closer. So, and that's all part of her inner monologue. So when the scene ends with them being very, very far apart, then something has transpired. She seems further away from the goal than ever before. So that's one really great tip. The 3 O's from James Scott Bell, Plot and Structure. I always recommend that book. You can find Bell online as well. He has a blog where he writes some great writing tips. But check out Plot and Structure. And yeah, those are my 3 recommendations for the day.